Good morning, everyone. This is Bhumika from People Matters, and we are back with another exciting session of the webcast in partnership with Indeed. This webcast will take into account expert views on the topic, the science of talent attraction in 2018, tactics to jumpstart your strategy. Before moving on to our agenda for the day, let me give you a brief of the topic. In the last decade alone, it is estimated that over $100 million was lost due to hiring the wrong candidate. By taking a close look at the 7 stages in the career decision-making process, recruiters can pay a close attention to the touch points that they need to focus on. Never have there been more ways to recruit talent, right from job search, social media to staffing firms. But successful recruiters understand that expectations of inbound and outbound candidates are varied. In this webcast, you will learn about the latest research on what should be in your toolkit to make your talent attraction strategy a success. Here's what we will cover. Firstly, understand the context of job search in 2018. Second, what do you need to know about psychology of job search? Third, types of candidates and what attracts them. And fourth, 5 key practices to find the right talent. Let me now introduce you to the speaker for this webcast. We have the privilege of having with us Mr. Bharat Jaiprakash, Senior Director, Indeed.com. Bharat heads the Insight sales team at Indeed India. Together with his team, Bharat is helping millions of small and medium businesses in India hire quality talent in a faster, more cost-efficient manner. A seasoned leader with over 20 years of work experience, Bharat has handled diverse portfolios including channel management, mergers and acquisitions, franchising, and business strategy. Our partner for today's webcast is Indeed. Indeed is an American worldwide employment-related search engine for job listings launched in November 2004 and is co-headquartered in Austin, Texas and Stamford, Connecticut with additional offices around the world. Indeed is currently available in over 60 countries and 28 languages. In October 2010, Indeed.com passed Monster.com to become the highest traffic job website in the United States. In 2011, Indeed began allowing job seekers to apply directly to jobs on Indeed's site and offering resume posting and storage. We have saved time for you to ask questions at the end of this webcast. For those who are live, you can simply submit and post your questions at any time during the session. We will try to respond to as many questions as time allows. We have a very exciting topic to discuss, and without any further delay, let me invite Bharat to take over. Over to you, Bharat.
Thank you, Bhumika, and People Matters. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's webinar on the science of talent attraction, understanding what makes people click. Without further ado, all right. Today I'm going to share some insights about how candidates are making decisions in today's labor market, the actions people are taking to find their next job, and show you how you can leverage this information to make your recruitment easier. Let's ask a basic question. Why do we recruit? We must remember that recruitment has a great impact on people. Think of people you have hired. Their lives have changed as a consequence of this. In fact, think of the people that you have not hired. Even rejecting a person has a great impact on their lives. But the more important fact is that recruitment is a #1 source of business impact for all our organizations. Steve Jobs says the secret of my success is that we have gone to exceptional lengths to hire the best people in the world. And Kathy Engelberg from Deloitte says our people are the greatest asset, and we are constantly trying to attract and retain high quality talent. The responsibility of talent leaders is immense. How will you fill these positions in 2018? Let's see. Part 1, the sociology of job search. Let's look at how job seekers in India are looking for jobs and applying for jobs. It's a commonly held perception in the industry that vast majority of candidates in the labor pool, around 80% of them, are passive, while roughly 20% are active. Well, if this is true, it has enormous impact on the way we recruit. It suggests that recruiters need to get on a phone, reach out via email, search social networks to find the broadest set of talent today. Now, the question is this a fact or a myth? We wanted to check this statement and indeed conducted a broad talent study in India through Focus Vision. Focus Vision is a large global market research firm. Through Focus Vision, we reached out to about 4,000 people in India that were a representative of Indian labor force. We really wanted to get a feel for exactly who's looking for jobs and how do they go about the job search in the current day and age. And here's what we found. The first thing we asked in the survey was, what percentage of people right now say they are actively looking for job opportunities? We found the answer was nearly inverse to the common logic. Instead of 80% being passive, 97% of the respondents claimed to be active by the most common definition of the term. They reported that they were either actively looking or open to a new job. In fact, 24% of the population say they have conducted a full job search in the last 2 years. When we drill down further into these numbers, we found that 90% look at job opportunities at least monthly, and only 3% of the respondents said, no matter what, I'm not interested in looking at jobs. I'm so happy I'm going to stay in my current job for a long time. Drilling down a little deeper, we wanted to see what segments of the population are looking at job opportunities on a regular basis. We found that people who are active job seekers tend to be younger and better educated. You can see here that 88% people aged 18 to 34 say they are actively looking at job opportunities. Since we are looking at a full labor force, a vast majority of the people being surveyed are currently employed. A survey also allowed us to find that going online to look for jobs is a #1 activity for people who get hired. And the job search is increasingly always on. As you can see here, of the 92% of adults that actively look for job opportunities in the last 6 months, 55% did it through online job sites and 54% used mobile search app. Candidates today expect jobs to come directly to them via mobile. In fact, 65% subscribe to job alerts, and half of them are young, between the age of 18 and 34. In fact, talent professionals agree with this. When polled, 91% of the talent professionals said people are always keeping an eye on the job market, and 85% say it's more likely to be true for highly skilled workers. Now, this next piece of data is really remarkable. We found that once people take a job, their behavior barely changes, because 65% of candidates who are hired come right back and look at new jobs again within 91 days of being hired. So to sum up the sociology of job search, truly passive candidates are rarer than you think. Younger, highly educated candidates are more likely to be active. Online job search is a #1 activity for people who get hired. Job search is never ending. Most new hires look for jobs again within 91 days. So the sociology of job search has shown us that job seekers are mostly active or inbound, and they predominantly use online or digital means to look for job opportunities. What does that mean for you? It means you must have good digital inbound pipeline to help you recruit in the future. Now, this is part two. Let's look at the psychology of job search, or what's happening with job seekers when they're searching for job opportunities. Based on what we have learned about psychology of job search, we know that the decision-making process related to changing jobs involves a lot of steps. But to put a more specific number to it, we can say that a person who is happily employed at their current job must make at least 7 major decisions before they make a switch and become an employee of another company. Let's look at the list of decisions. First, they need to consider the change and open themselves up to other job opportunities. Then, they need to consider your company and see whether it might be a good fit for them. Likewise, they need to consider a specific position in your company. They then need to take action and apply to the job. In their application, if their application is compelling enough to result in an initial interview with your company, they need to commit to your interview process. And if they are lucky enough to get an offer, they need to accept that offer and show up to work on their first day of employment. This entire process is an extremely long and stressful process. In fact, we can show you how stressful it can be. First step, which is considering a change, is by far the hardest decision. Let's look at more closely at this and see why. According to research, career decisions are among the most stressful life decisions. And family and health, career events have the biggest impact on stress and happiness. Here is some research that supports our first observation. This is the Holmes and Rahe stress scale. It's a very famous stress measurement tool that ranks the stress level of different life events on a scale of 0 to 100. Most life events fall within the range of 0 to 65. 65 is a very, very high amount of stress, and obviously 0 being very low. In the gray section below the scale, you see a variety of life events and their associated stress levels. A change in residence amounts to a relatively mild amount of stress, while a death of a close family member results in a high level of stress. As you can see, a change to a different line of work is just less than pregnancy in terms of stress. Another observation we found is that most people are wired to be resistant to career change. Career changes require job seeker to weigh both the benefits of change as well as the probability of failure. And it turns out us humans are more likely to focus on more probability of failure rather than the benefits of change. This was published in The Career Psychologist in 2014. When weighing up the costs and benefits of a decision, we make two errors. First, we overestimate the probability of failure in a new direction because of a negative bias. Second, we underestimate the benefits of change because we fail to imagine or visualize the results of the change in much detail. Abraham Harold Maslow, who was a famous American psychologist, he created a hierarchy of needs, and a lot of his research focused on how the human brain came to be wired for survival. Maslow concluded that his evolutionary predisposition to avoiding risks explained the development of our cognitive functions and emotions. In his evaluation, it also explained why we are 3 to 5 times more sensitive to negative stimuli than positive stimuli. I think all of us in recruiting see this on a regular basis. When presented with a great job opportunity, many candidates focus only on risks associated with a career change rather than potential benefits. Another observation that we have found is that career changes are major life changes, and change takes a lot of work. Research on change management suggests that there are many steps that people need to work through before they are ready for career changes. When you put all this together, it's clear that forces against career change are incredibly strong. We underestimate the benefits of career change, overestimate the probability of failure, and we have to put in work required to prepare ourselves for a major life change. All this can cause a lot of stress. So we have told you two different things. On one hand, we have told you people are actively looking and considering job opportunities. But on the other hand, we have also told you that considering job opportunities is a very stressful thing and hard thing to do for a job seeker today. So what actually leads employed people to make decisions to change jobs? Well, we have tried to answer this question through our survey, and you can see some of the data on the left. As you can see, in the reasons that cause people to consider a change can be broadly categorized into two categories. The first category is because they see an interesting job opportunity, and the second is because they are dissatisfied with their job. While you have no control over the second, you can definitely make sure that active inbound job seekers who see your job postings are inspired by your job posts to apply for your jobs. I think this is insightful and is really helpful to all of us who are involved in recruiting on day-to-day basis and work to bring best talent in our organizations. Why is this important? Is because most talent professionals would prefer an active candidate. In fact, 9 out of 10 talent professionals would prefer an active candidate to a passive one. And that's because active candidates have already done most of the psychological work to prepare themselves for the change. So now if you go back to the 7-step career decision-making process we talked about earlier, we can see that an active candidate who has applied to one of your jobs has already shown the passion and taken action. They have decided to make a change, they have chosen your company, and they have found there is a good personal fit with your organization. They're considering a particular job and they've taken action to apply for that role. You just need to help them through the last stages of the process, which is committing to your application process, accepting the job offer if they receive one, and then, of course, appearing for the new job at your company. So now that we can see the active candidates are a majority and they are easier to recruit, what can we do to attract these candidates to your job? What attracts candidates to your jobs? According to our survey, they are attracted by pay, location, and flexibility. In fact, most candidates focus on 3 things: good pay and compensation. Number 2, work environment and flexible hours. Number 3, company reputation. It's interesting to see some of the categories related to personal fulfillment further down on the list. You can also see the clear path for advancement and company reputation are down at the bottom of the list of things that would attract a candidate in our survey results. It is also interesting to note that 2 age groups that consider meaningful work as a factor that will attract them to a job are young and middle-aged. Our 4th research observation is that people feel better about decisions that they are in full control. In fact, candidates overwhelmingly believe that it's important for them to direct their own job search. 84% agree or strongly agree that when deciding whether or not to accept a job offer, it's important to me that they have looked around at other job opportunities first. And 75% agree or strongly agree that if a recruiter or a friend proactively contacted me about a position, I would consider other available jobs as well, rather than only consider one specific position. I think this next piece of data is particularly interesting. 68% of employed adults think they would be more successful on their job. They would do better as an employee if they found a job on their own versus one they got from a recruiter or a company that contacted them. That's a pretty powerful statement if you think of it. So to sum up the psychology of job search, career changes involve a stress and multi-step psychological process. For passive candidates, the psychological obstacles to change are enormous. Active candidates, by definition, are ready for change. Candidates prefer to be in control of their job search so they find the best fit. So, the psychology of job search has shown us that active job seekers are more willing to navigate the stressful psychological process of career change than passive job seekers, and they prefer to be in control of their job search. And finally, we're going to look at how your recruiting tactics affects the type of talent you attract and hire at your companies. You might be familiar already with some of this, or even all of it. But we're going to take a quick look and just run through and help you compare the difference between the tactics. There are numerous ways for you as recruiters to find and hire talent. But you can categorize most recruitment tactics into either inbound, where the candidate applies for your job, and outbound, where you reach out to the candidates first. These are a few of the ways inbound candidates apply to your jobs. People finding you in job search, referrals who apply, career fairs, responses to job postings, applications from recruiting, social recruiting, visitors who visit your career site. And these are few of the ways you interact with outbound candidates. Contacting people through Indeed resume could be one. Contacting people via LinkedIn, contacting people in a resume database, or referrals that you can call. These two tactics vary greatly in their costs, complexities, and workloads. A vast majority of talent professionals agree that it's more expensive to recruit through outbound recruiting or to recruit passive candidates. That's why most talent professionals try and fill their open positions with inbound candidates. In fact, companies that fully measure cost per hire find additional reasons why outbound recruiting is more expensive. And here are just some of the ways. Labor intensive, low candidate response rates to inquiries, low offer acceptance rates, long lead times, uncertain cultural fit, time consuming to overcome psychological barriers to change, to name a few. And not just from a cost perspective, are active candidates a better option for companies? According to most of the talent professionals we surveyed, active candidates are more motivated and driven to succeed once they join. This is because before they joined your company, they took an active decision to join your company in that role. And consequently, when we polled why they feel passive candidates fail, talent professionals feel that lack of passion and commitment is one of the primary reasons for failure. According to a quote by Director of Human Resources of a large aerospace company, companies are chasing the wrong hires, was one of the articles. He says that active candidates are always looking and mentally prepared to switch companies, locations, or careers. Passive candidates, by contrast, are more difficult to find, engage with, and motivate to make major life changes, which leads to a longer time to fill. But that's not to say that inbound recruiting is easy. It can have its challenges as well. And some of the challenges you would face with inbound recruiting are some roles get too many applications to screen. Some roles are hard to quickly fill, difficult to control who applies. Some open positions need to be kept confidential. Resumes often don't provide enough data to find best candidates. So, what can we do to shape your recruiting organization to best take advantage of inbound recruiting? We would like to share 5 practices to find the right talent. In fact, we want to make this talk a little more actionable so we came up with these 5 steps for you. Let's talk about these steps which can help you to improve the way you recruit today. Sequence recruiting tactics to optimize quality, cost, and performance. If you open a position and you've got good flow of active candidates from organic traffic, fill as many positions as you can with free traffic. If you're getting the right candidates, but you need more volume, then invest in a sponsored jobs campaign. Setting a budget based on your conversion rates and the number of candidates required is a great way to fill a good portion of your positions at the lowest possible cost per hire. Inevitably, there are going to be some jobs that are really, really tough to fill. That might be 10% or maximum 20% of the roles at a given company. We look to see how, if there is still an insufficient number of candidates in the hiring pipeline after 14 days. And at that point, we would recommend authorizing and beginning outbound recruiting campaigns. Typically, we find that around 20% of those positions require outbound approach. And at that point, you have to engage in an expensive, difficult work of getting on the phone, reaching out to the candidates you think might be a good fit. For most companies, we advise focusing outbound recruiting efforts on the jobs that are most likely to remain chronically unfilled. Number 2, shape your candidate pipeline. You have amazing control on your talent. So here are 5 key levers that you can use. Your job titles, job descriptions, your career site, the apply process, reviews of your company by current and past employees. So let's talk about some of these. I think job titles are a great starting point. We had a client, let me share this example with you. We had a client looking for sales representatives, but internally as in within the organization, the job was called account manager. They posted the job, but they weren't getting the best results. Our team analyzed the job and found the role was actually a sales job. So we advised the client to use sales or sales representative in the title. So changing the title means, changing the title to sales or sales representative means sales professionals are more likely to see your job. And if they are not sales professionals, they will self-select and not click on the job. Using normal titles that means something to as many people as possible means that you're going to get much more interest from right sort of people. Consequently, using strange or internal job titles that are not meaningful to the outside world are going to limit your applicability, which means the best talent may not apply for the job. Here's an example of a great job description from Spotify, a music streaming service. If you notice, They use phrases that clearly showcase the type of talent they're looking for: thoughtful, well rounded, take great pride, more than just a job, take a concept and transform it, are some of the phrases they used. They also use a lot of phrases and keywords that perform well in search. These are the phrases that job seekers are looking for. In fact, the top talent always look for key search words when they're looking for jobs, like front-end engineer, team, could be teamwork, web, coding, projects, concept, web-based experience, technical, or even UI or UX expertise in this specific job description. And it's also really important that you have your jobs accessible through a mobile, because 65% of the people apply through mobile phone. This next point is really important. The graph we are looking at here shows the number of screener and other application questions that are associated and which could reduce in applications being submitted. What we find, not surprisingly, is more questions you have, the fewer applicants you're going to get. This finding applies to every sort of question. Asking someone their first name is a question. Asking someone their middle name is another question. Asking someone their last name could count as another question too, and so on and so forth. Some organizations ask candidates hundreds of questions that seem to stretch endlessly across pages and pages of their online applications. We find that having relatively fewer questions often makes the most sense and won't negatively impact your recruiting pipeline. If you have fewer than 10 questions, you're likely to see a slight drop in applications, although this will likely be overweighed by the increase in number of, increase in candidate quality that you will see. Number 3, build a brand that brings talent to you. Your brand determines your candidates. 83% people say reviews impact where they apply. 46% say company reputation has a big impact on the decision to accept a job. Here at Indeed, we see a 5% increase in apply rates when employer reviews on Indeed company pages are available. Number 4, optimize the inbound and outbound candidate experience for top talent. And this can be very difficult, but we think that organizations looking to successfully recruit should hold themselves for the following standard. Your inbound recruiting process needs to be good enough that would encourage any great candidate to go through it. And one such organization that's done a great job in this area is Airbnb, the internet home sharing company. Airbnb recognized that their candidate experience needed an overhaul. The questions they mapped out in the storyboarding exercise to the right of your screen are particularly interesting. They outlined every step of the job seeker experience from end to end and found answers to the following questions. What do you want job seekers to know at each stage of the process? What do we want them to feel at each stage? What does rejection look like at each stage? You can see how important that is based on a discussion of psychology of talent attraction earlier in the presentation. What makes each of these stages uniquely Airbnb are some of the very, very important questions that were mapped out. I think this is a very valuable exercise for any company looking to redesign or even design a recruitment process that provides a positive candidate experience to top talent. Number 5, build a platform for inbound recruiting. And this is the final tip for you. If outbound recruiting is akin to sales, then inbound recruiting is more like marketing. The biggest challenges here involve technology and skills, as more and more recruiting organizations adopt techniques and technology from the world of marketing, which is very, very interesting. For many organizations, this evolution is happening too slowly. These organizations rely on platforms that do not serve their recruiting needs well enough. You can see key components of marketing tech platform outlined on the left side. These include a website and landing page, a lead capture, predictive scoring of the leads that come in, that sorts for the sales team, automated marketing communication based on lead scoring, market segmentation, and the stage a lead is in. CRM that manages all data around that leads the company, that leads the opportunity at hand. Performance analytics that guide a future investment. Recruiting technology needs to look like this as well. Now, if you compare, your career site is equivalent to your web page on the marketing side and should be held the same design and the marketing standards. Your apply process functions the same way as lead capture process. Applicant screening would be equivalent to predictive scoring. For most organizations today, applicant screening is an essentially manual process. But over time, this will become more and more automated. In fact, Indeed can help you with screening applicants with applicant screening. Automated candidate marketing, often done with the help of your ATS, allows for more sophisticated communication with candidates that helps strengthen their relationship with your brand. Then we have CRM. Then we have the candidate CRM, designed to manage all candidate data, just like the customer data in a CRM on the marketing side. Finally, your recruiting platform should also allow for performance analytics, which is surprisingly ignored by many organizations, because these metrics will allow you to calculate your cost per hire, find out which channels are performing the best, and track the post-hire success of candidates that have made it through your pipeline. Measure fully loaded cost per successful hire, including recruiter labor costs. So to summarize the 5 practices to finding the right talent. Number 1, sequence recruiting tactics. Number 2, shape your candidate pipeline. Number 3, build a brand that brings talent to you. Number 4, optimize candidate experience. And number 5, build an inbound recruiting platform. So what does this mean to you if you're able to implement these best practices as part of your recruitment strategy? It means an 87% reduction in your cost per hire. Huge. You would be required to screen only half the number of applicants to fill a position. Targeted candidates, 8 times more are likely to apply. And most importantly, faster time to hire. Well, with that, we come to an end of this insightful session. Bhumika, if you have any questions, happy to take them.
Yes, thank you so much for the session. We do have questions coming in, and I'll straight away go to our first question. Manish Rai, he asks us how AI will be beneficial for recruitment industry in 2018, and what all AI tool can be banked upon for better recruitment results.
Well, Manish, I'm honestly not an expert in artificial intelligence, but I can tell you one thing. Most of the recruitment online platforms today, Indeed for that matter, is constantly evolving based on the surveys that we do, based on the tests that we conduct, depending on the job seeker's behavior, online search behavior, and we are enhancing our tool. There are many tools out there in the market. I obviously wouldn't be able to comment which are the tools that are best, and would not be in a position to recommend any. But I can tell you one thing for sure: For example, I joined Indeed a year and a half ago, come from a very different background, technology background. And I can tell you, we have seen a significant change in job seeker behavior as well as our platform to ensure that the right type of jobs are shown to the right candidates and to the best talent as well.
Right. Thank you. Thank you so much for that answer, Bharat. We'll move on to our second question. Drishti, she wants to know recruiters' mailbox is often overflowed with applications. How can the recruiters ensure that they receive more suitable applications and make the screening process simpler?
See, we talked about it during the presentation as well, Drishti. At times, many organizations have, ton of application screening questions. We have seen when we recommend to a client to reduce the number of application screening questions, limited to not more than 5 or 6, we have seen drop in number of applies. But more importantly, the relevant applies is what comes to the mailbox, which means the recruiter's time is productively used. So my recommendation would be think about 5 or 6 powerful screener questions that you can include in your ATS, or for that matter, even talking about Indeed on a hosted job platform as well. That should dramatically reduce overflowing applications into your mailbox.
Right. Thank you so much. We'll move on to question number 3. Can you talk more about talent performance analytics? How can recruiters make most use of it?
Wow, that's a very interesting question. See, one of the things about online platform, online job search is about understanding how do we attract talent. There are a ton of job seekers out there who are constantly looking for jobs. In fact, our survey shows 97% are active job seekers, which means performance analytics will help you understand who's looking for your jobs, what type of keywords are they typing to look for the jobs and clicked on your jobs. That's the first insight you'll get. Second, what type of people are applying for these jobs? Which location are you getting these applies from? So all this information, insightful information, you can get from performance analytics. You can also change your strategy based on insights from this performance analytics. For example, if you're not getting much applies from one particular location, you can change, you can fine tune, location tagging for that matter to ensure that the right type of people apply for the job. At the same time, get the best applies from a particular location that's working for you. This is just couple of insightful information that I can share in terms of how you can review performance analytics. The recruitment heads, talent acquisition leads can also analyze, cost per hire. How can I reduce my cost per hire by making more effective, or rather chalking out more effective strategies to hire best talent?
Thank you so much, Bharat, for that answer. I'll move on to the next question. This is from Jerry. He wants to know, could you let us know from your experience, which is the most effective channel for hiring?
Well, it depends on what you're looking at. I mean, as I said, inbound versus outbound, that's the first decision you need to take, which is a strategic decision. Second, most talent professionals, 9 out of 10 talent professionals believe inbound applies who are active candidates are the best to achieve your hiring mandates or hiring targets, which means you need to identify a channel from where you can get inbound applies. That could be ensuring that your ATS is smart enough to go and ensure that your career page is updated to ensure that you have the best talent applying. You can also ensure that platforms like Indeed crawls your company page or your career page to ensure visibility of your jobs is to million plus job seekers who will apply to your jobs, right? So for me, that's the most effective channel for hiring.
Yes, that indeed is, yes. So we'll move on to the next question. What are some of the key challenges the recruiters are facing currently?
Well, it's inbound versus outbound again, right? I mean, think about it. I'm a big fan of recruiters because They have the hardest job to do. Their job is to go find the talent because there is pressure from the business side. The companies want to hire the best talent. So they're always under tremendous pressure. So they need to always identify what's the easiest and the best possible way to go find the best talent. You have a choice to make. One, you pick up the phone, keep hammering the phone throughout the day, talk to hundreds of job seekers, understand whether they're interested or no, and get them to apply for the job. Second, go understand what's the channel that you want to go sponsor your jobs with, so that you get more and more active candidates who are applying for your jobs. Once you do that, 60% of the job is done. Then it's all about you identifying whether there is a right fit, ensuring that they apply for the job, and ensure that they go through the interview process, and they appear on the first day of the job that they take up, because they've already decided they will be joining a company. You don't have to go sell your company vision and mission. So it becomes that much more simpler for you as a recruiter.
Yes, we have a very interesting question. This is from Anupama. She wants to know, she says candidates decline an offer even if they get a good hike. How do we trust them and how do we get such candidates on board?
Look, I mean, I've been a hiring manager for 20 years, not 20, in fact, 14 years out of those 20 years of work experience. And I've interviewed thousands of candidates after the interview's been set up by my best friends at work, which is recruiters. And believe me, when you're talking about the company vision, when you're talking about why they should be looking for a job and why they should be joining the company, my strike rate has been more than 90%, which means any candidate that I have offered a job, out of 100, probably 2 or 3 have, rejected the offer, right? That's the first thing. Second, I talked about inbound versus outbound, and I want to repeat that again. When an inbound candidate applies for a job, they've already decided that they want to join your company. So it becomes that much more easier for you.
Yes,
I hope I answered that question for you, Anupama. I mean, if you want to know more about it, I'm happy to get on a call with you offline and discuss more about it.
yes, I hope that answers the question too. I'll move on to our next question from Dhirendra. Do we have any tool available to determine active or passive job seeker? I mean, how do we arrive to concluding on active or passive applicants?
See, I mean, there is no hard and fast rule. I mean, in fact, we also recommend to our clients that every 10 active job seekers who apply for a job, maybe 1 or 2 will join, right? So there's no answer where I can put a finger on a button and say, here's an active job seeker or here's a passive job seeker. There's always a conversion rate. Our effort is to ensure that we have a platform available for the top talent to apply for the job as an active job seeker will apply, and ensure that we show enough about the organization. The active job seeker studies enough about the organization, does enough research about the organization. Data is available on the company pages to ensure that they take the smart decisions to join your company. But believe me, if 10 people are applying for a job, not all 10 will qualify, because you have the hiring manager who would be interviewing. So there's always a conversion rate that you need to look at.
Right. Thank you, Bharat. We'll move on to our last question before we wrap up. This question is from Pallavi. What could be the outbound recruiting strategy and tools for not so famous companies?
We talked about, it's not going to be easy. Believe me, it's not going to be easy when you're talking about outbound recruiting strategy, especially for not so famous companies. But believe me, when a job seeker is applying for a job, and as long as your company page or your website is good enough and gives him all the information, him or her, all the information, you don't have to really look at outbound recruiting strategy. In fact, I would say, when 97% of the people are looking at actively looking for jobs, why do you want to waste your time on outbound recruiting strategy? Unless these jobs are remaining chronically unfilled for many, many days, then it's a different matter altogether. But irrespective of what the image of the company is, or irrespective of how famous, how not so famous the company is, the beauty of inbound, recruitment strategy is, as long as they know they're joining a company which has a mission and a vision, it doesn't matter to them which company they're joining. It's important for the job seeker, the active job seeker, to learn the culture of the organization, to understand what the current employees and past employees talk about the organization. So Indeed, for example, offers a company page absolutely free of cost to everybody, all organizations, to go and update your company page with culture, with videos, the work culture, the videos, past employee, present employee videos can be uploaded as well. There are reviews that can be captured from past and present employees. A lot of that will help you to ensure that the candidates take the right decision to join your company.
Thank you, Bharat. That's a very useful information for organizations that are small or not so famous, as Pallavi puts it. I'll move on to one last question before we close. As gig economy continues to evolve, how do you foresee sourcing reshaping in this context?
Oh, huge. I mean, we have been extremely successful in this space, believe me. Uh, I would also use another word called on-demand jobs. Uh, See, one of the challenges that many companies face in the gig economy is the volumes. You get even 100 recruiters on your payrolls, and to get them to make calls, the cost that involves is to pay salaries to those 100 recruiters, the resources and the tools that you need to build and set up in your organization. That takes huge amount of money, right? You sponsor one job, irrespective of whichever platform it is. You sponsor one job specific to a gig economy or on demand, you will get thousands of applies. And your conversion rate for those thousands of applies is anywhere between 1 to 20, which means one successful hire to every 20 or to 25 applies. So I'm talking about 4,000 to 5,000, in some cases even 8,000 applies that you can get in a month through an inbound recruitment campaign. And I'm really happy to take this question offline. Whoever, I don't see the name here, but I'm more than happy to take this question offline. You've seen my email address. Please write to me, and we will have a offline discussion and help you understand how things will evolve in the future.
Yes, thank you so much, Bharat. And with this question and answer session, we are going to wrap up today's webcast. We have many more questions coming in, which I would request the speaker to take offline. Once again, we thank today's webcast partner, Indeed. Also, a gentle reminder to all of you to give your feedback in the survey link we have provided in the chat section in order to help us improve. A special thanks to our speaker, Bharat, for this webcast and invaluable information that he has shared with us today. I would also like to thank everybody in the webcast audience for participating in today's presentation. Stay tuned for many more exciting sessions. That concludes our webcast today. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great day.
Thank you, Vimika. Thank you, People Matters, and thank you, everybody, for attending this webinar. Really appreciate you taking your time and attending this webinar. Thank you.